Hey everyone, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, and welcome to another real estate investing video. Today I'm going to talk about house hacking. So I'm going to go over a few things with house hacking. One, what is it? How does it work? Two, what are the logistics of it? Getting a loan, buying the property, how do you pull it off? Three, why it is an amazing tactic to start investing in real estate with little or even no money down. Rental properties are expensive. House hacking is a way to get into rentals cheap and keep buying rentals as well. You don't just have to buy one, you can keep buying multiple rentals. And then finally, we're going to show you some examples of properties you could house hack. These are actual properties I own right now. I'm actually flipping them, but they could be house hacked as well. Now, I'm a little farther along in life than where I would be if I was house hacking, but this can give you an example of how you could do it if you're interested in house hacking. All right, so first off, of course, check out investformore.com. Have a full article on this. It's 4,000 words on house hacking. Just published it, so check that out. And we have all kinds of other videos on YouTube, so be sure to subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. We always appreciate that. And I respond to comments too. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll try to help. So house hacking is basically when you buy a property as an owner-occupant and then rent out part of the property to help pay for your mortgage, build credit history, and build rental income. So you can house hack with a multifamily property or a single family property. Now typically it's a little easier to do it with a multifamily property because you can rent out the other units. So you can buy up to a 4-unit property as an owner-occupant. You can use FHA, VA, conventional loans with low down payments. That's what we'll talk about here in a little bit, why it's so cheap. And then you can live in one unit. You have to live in it. That's part of house hacking. You can't just rent out everything. And then when you rent out the other units, you're bringing in enough money, hopefully to pay for your mortgage, plus have extra cash flow coming in. So you're basically living for free, renting out the other units, bringing income in, and then you're also building credit and rent history, which is important if you want to keep buying properties. Now you can do this with single family homes as well, but it's a little trickier. What you do is buy a single family house, live in it, and rent out a bedroom. Maybe you can rent out the basement to someone else, earn some extra income. The tricky part is a lot of cities and towns have zoning rules that say you can't have more than 2 or 3 unrelated people in a single family home. Now some zoning allows it, some doesn't. That's what you have to check with in your particular city before you do this. So you might not be able to have 5 roommates in this house, but you could have 1, maybe 2, depending on the rules. So they can help you pay for your mortgage, but with a single family home, they might not be paying for all of your mortgage or paying for enough for you to make money as well. It's just supplemental income. So you can do it with both, but it's typically easier. You make more money with a multifamily property. On the other side, most people probably want to live in a single family home instead of living with a bunch of neighbors. So pros and cons to both of them. Now, so how does it actually work to pull off the house hack? So you have to buy as an owner-occupant. That's number 1 rule, because that is where you get the low down payment loan. If you're buying as an investor, trying to buy a rental property that you're not going to live in, you're going to have to put down 20%, maybe even 25% using a typical bank. Now, if you're buying a house to live in, the banks will let you get loans with as little as 3.5% down with FHA. Some conventional loans are as low as 3%. Most are 5%. If you're qualify for VA, veteran, if you have military experience, are in the military now, you can get a 0 down loan with no mortgage insurance. One of the best loans available. You can buy a house and actually get money back. In some cases, it's crazy. So there are lots of different options out there for owner-occupants, not so much for straight investors. And that's why owner-occupants can buy for much cheaper than an investor can, and why house hacking is so attractive. So find a great deal. That's another key to this, is you want a really good deal that will cash flow, make you money. Get this low down payment loan on it, live there a year, and then after your year is up, you can keep renting there if you want, or keep living there, renting from yourself, or you can move out, rent it to someone else, and repeat the process again. Now, repeating the process is where it gets tricky if you don't house hack. Now, if you buy a single family home, don't rent it out, you might have to wait another year after it's rented to have your income from that rent count towards a new loan. So it can be very hard to qualify for 2 mortgages at once. So that's why having that rent come in, even if it's 1 roommate, 2 roommates, really helps you qualify for another house to buy right away instead of having to wait. And that's another key aspect to house hacking, is renting part of the property so you have that rent coming in. So now let's take a look at some actual houses I own that you could house hack right now.
Property that I bought that would be perfect for a house hack. I want you to notice that it is extremely ugly. If you're going to house hack, you might not get the Taj Mahal or an amazing property. You have to make some sacrifices. That's one of the downfalls of house hacking, living in a multi-unit property, having to rent to other people right around you. But it can be an amazing financial decision. So this house was listed, well, not house, property was listed on the MLS for $220,000, and it was rented, had 3 units that were rented, and then a 4th that was vacant. So you can see right here is listed for $220,000. I ended up getting it for $193,500. Really good deal. I am in northern Colorado. It is really hard to find deals like this here. So if you're in an expensive state like Colorado, California, Seattle area, it's really hard to get properties that cash flow really well. It's possible, but really hard. So these don't come along every day. In fact, after I got this under contract, I had someone calling me say, hey, I want you to help me buy a property that's for sale in Alt. And it was this property. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, I have this under contract. And I told them, you know, I am a really bad agent to work with on these properties because I buy them myself. I'm investing. It's a conflict of interest. So I referred him to Justin, another agent in our office. But he wanted a house hack. He wanted to live in 1 unit, rent out the rest of it. Would have been an awesome deal for him. And I'll show you why. So, like I said, it was rented for $1,975 a month total with 1 vacant unit. So we'll go over the numbers here in a little bit. But you could have fixed up that unit. It needed a little bit of work, but not crazy amount of work. And I'll link to the video of this property below so you can actually see the full video. Maybe I'll show a little bit of it here. But you could have done some basic minor repairs to make it livable, and your payment would have been well below $1,975 a month. Live there for free, make a little bit of money, build up credit, build up cash flow, and if you refinanced it in a little bit after fixing it up, maybe you could even get some cash back to invest in other properties. And there was room to raise the rents on these other units as well, which I will go over here soon too. But just want to show you this property, prime example of something that could be hacked, live for free, maybe even make some money, and build up rent income, credit, all that good stuff, all at the same time with a pretty small down payment. Here are the numbers on that property we just looked at. So this gives you an example of what you can do. Obviously, you can't buy this property right now because I own it. I'm going to keep it as a rental. Before I get too far, this property might have some problems for people for one reason, which I want to disclose to you. It has a commercial unit. So because it has 1 commercial unit, it's a 400 square foot hair salon, it might make it really hard to get the FHA VA financing. But if you're buying a straight multifamily property with 4 residential units, you should have no problem. However, even with that issue, there probably will be local lenders who would be willing to lend to you on it. You might be able to squeeze it by with other lenders, but that could be something as a hiccup, something to consider. If you're looking at properties, if it's all residential, you should be good. If it has a mixed use, some commercial in it, might cause some problems. So something to watch out for. But I bet you could still make this one work if you had to. All right, so looking at the numbers, buy the property for $193,500. Your down payment, this is assuming you do an FHA loan, would be about almost $7,000. You'd also have closing costs. So you pay more than just the down payment. You'd have to pay an origination fee, an appraisal, closing fee. We'll say it's about $5,000. This can vary depending on what state you're in, how closings are done. So you might need $12,000 to buy this $193,000 property. However, You can reduce this. So if you can get the seller to pay your closing costs, which is pretty common, you could have the seller pay this full amount. You may only need the $6,000 or $7,000. There are also down payment assistance programs for people who have low income, different, all kinds of situations that vary state by state. So you might be able to get this down significantly. Like I said, if you're buying it with a VA loan, you might not even have to bring anything to closing. It's crazy what they do. Really good program. So those are some things to consider, but you could definitely do it with that much money. Now, the loan you would have is about $188,000, which does not equal this minus that. And the reason is FHA has mortgage insurance they charge you up front. So there'll be some mortgage insurance rolled into your loan. Conventional loans have mortgage insurance as well, but it's usually not rolled into the loan. So the conventional loan can actually be better than FHA if you can pull it off. But FHA works better for people who don't have great credit, maybe not as much income, all types of things to talk to your lender about when considering which one to do. Your payment would be about $900 a month at 4% interest. So cheap. It's crazy how cheap interest is right now. Went up for a little while, back down again. Taxes and insurance, we're saying $300. It would actually be a lot less than that on this property because the taxes on this property are literally $600 a year. But that is insanely low. Most taxes will be much higher than that throughout the rest of the country, so I raised that number up. Your insurance will probably be $100 to $150 a month, maybe a little more, depending on what kind of insurance you can get. So I just made that number a little higher than it would be on this one. And mortgage insurance. So with FHA, you also pay monthly mortgage insurance, so I added that in there too. So your total payment would probably be about $1,400 a month. So the current rental income, which I mentioned before, is $1,975 a month with one vacant unit. So as you can see, you have almost $600 more in rent coming in than you're paying on your mortgage insurance. Now, you might have some other costs. On this property, you'd be paying water for everybody. If a unit went vacant, you would be paying, for their utilities. You wouldn't have that rent coming in all the time. So you can't count on that money coming in every single month forever. You'll have to account for some vacancies, maybe some maintenance along the way. But you can see how crazy it is to be able to live in a property and have it pay you while you live there. So not only are you living for free, but it's paying you. And that's what is so awesome about house hacking if you can find the right properties. Now, just talking about monthly expenses, what about value add? This is what I like to do with my rentals, with my flips. I don't just buy houses that make money every month. I add value to them. I get really amazing deals on them as well, which anybody can do with a little work. So if you had this property fully rented, so you had the vacant unit, you rented it out, you could get $2,600 a month for this property pretty easily without much work. In my market, that makes it worth $275,000 all day long. Why was it so cheap? One, it was a really good deal. I bought it less than it was listed at. And like I said, I always like to get really good deals. You can get good deals out there. You can buy houses for less than they're worth all the time if you work at it. I talk a lot about it in my books, Build a Rental Property Empire, Fix and Flip Your Financial Freedom, how to get those really good deals. Talk a lot about it on my other YouTube videos as well. Certainly possible. Now, what I'm doing with this property, what we're in the process of, and I will link to these videos right now that show you the work we're doing, the inside of them, all that good stuff. We have remodeled a lower unit, one unit that was rented before for $900 a month. The guy wanted to leave. We said sure because it was way below market rent. We remodeled it, moved somebody else in there, actually for less, $800 a month, but it was an elderly lady who lived upstairs, and we gave her a break. If we did a full remodel, we probably could have rented it for more. But her unit, she is paying $600 a month for a two-bedroom, which is way below market. So we're going to go in there, spruce it up a little bit. We can rent it for probably $900 to $1,000 a month. And then the vacant unit, we're sprucing up, fixing up some, we'll be able to rent it for $700 to $800 a month. So total, we'll be bringing in almost $3,000 a month on this property, which would make it worth $350,000. not a problem. If it was all fixed up, had renters in place, that's what it's worth. And that's the crazy part about real estate, the value you can add to properties, how you can increase rents, buy below market value, really just build huge amounts of equity. And that's what I'm doing with my property now. And with this property, once I get it all rented, all of that done, I'll refinance it, be able to take all the money I spent on it, repairing it, fixing it up, all that stuff, and probably have some money back, have a cash flowing property that makes me money every month, and a fantastic investment. And if you're house hacking, you can keep this property, keep doing it over and over again, and build up your rental portfolio. Here is another example of a property that could be house hacked. This is also one that we bought. This one to flip. So this one would be a little more difficult. It had a bad roof, some other issues. It would not have been able to go FHA or VA without some help. Now, there are FHA 203K loans that allow you to buy a property like this, finance the repairs, amazing loans. Can be tough to pull it off, though, because many sellers don't want to sell to an FHA 203K because it takes longer and there's more cost to the buyer, but it's an amazing option if you can use it. HUD homes are a great choice to use FHA 203K loans for if you need that option, because HUD homes give owner-occupants an advantage over other buyers. They give them time to bid on a property before investors can, as do many other REO companies. So if you're an owner-occupant and you're having a hard time finding a property, you get an advantage on many REOs, HUDs, short sales over investors. So look into that. But this particular property is kind of an example of one that's more expensive, a nicer house. You probably won't live there for free, but you can really supplement your mortgage, and you've got 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, a backyard, a garage. It's kind of more livable for a family. It's got a full yard than it would an apartment building. So it's an up-down duplex, and we'll kind of look at the numbers a little bit. I'll show you. The pictures aren't very amazing, but actually that looks pretty good right there. But it had some other issues. They don't show you the kitchen or some of the bedrooms. You could have moved in, but eventually, some of the wiring, plumbing would need to have been updated at some point. The basement was pretty weird, but again, you could have lived there, rented out the basement, made some extra money. We went in, did a lot of work. We're still working on it right now, and we'll actually be selling it for more than $300,000 after buying it for $207,000, which was really cheap house in our area. Like I said, if you live in an area besides Colorado, California, some of the high-priced ones, it's much easier to pull off this house hacking than it is here. But this just shows you still can do it here. It's not impossible, but take some work, some patience. Now, on this one, you could most likely rent the basement for $900 to $1,200 a month, depending on how much work you did to it. Right now, it's a 1-bedroom. We actually turned it into a 3-bedroom, which would rent for quite a bit. So your payment would be $1,500 a month after mortgage insurance, in that range. So you're not paying for all of your mortgage on this one, but it's definitely helping a lot. And you're bringing in an income, which will help you qualify for more properties if you decide to live here for a year, move into something else. So this, again, shows the value of being able to buy a property as an owner-occupant with a low down payment, having someone else help pay the rent, building equity, and buying more and more properties with little money. A fantastic strategy if you can pull it off, but it does take some work. All right, so there are some examples of house hacking, some overviews of how it works, how to pull it off. Here's an article on my blog, investformore.com. I point to this a lot, have a ton of information on here. And this is a brand new article I just wrote that is 4,000 and some words, all about house hacking, talks about how it works, how to get qualified for loans, how to figure out how much money you need, buying the properties, why owner-occupant properties are so much better, single family properties versus multifamily properties, the loans, different strategies for how to use an appraisal, mortgage insurance, repairs, all types of information on here. So be sure to check this out. I have a link to it in the description below. But you can just go to investformore.com into the blog. It'll be the first article on there as well. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks again for watching this video. Really appreciate it. I also have a book, Build a Rental Property Empire, that goes over all of this in great detail as well. 350 some pages, and it's been a bestseller for a few years. So check that out. If you like the video, We appreciate the thumbs up. Have any questions or comments, leave them below. We'll answer them. And hopefully you subscribe if you enjoy them. Thanks a lot.